Hey, this is Mr. Smith, and this is the Media Arts Update for October 2015. This is the Mr. Smith is Sick edition, so forgive me if I don't sound quite right. Now, I want to start off each of these video updates with a student work to show off what kids are doing in my room. Unfortunately, I can't right now. We've got some really nice 1-minute movies that students have been handing in for a project grade. But unfortunately, we don't have all the publicity release forms in yet, so I can't put them up on a YouTube channel. I do not have permission to do that because even if I have permission to display the likenesses of students in the videos, I don't have permission to show the child's work from every child, unfortunately. So if you have not filled out one of these for me, there were 2 of these that went home. One went home to be given back to the homeroom teacher, and the other one went home to be brought to me personally, because I need to keep my own separate files. So I need this, unfortunately. I've got some printed out copies in my room still that children can bring home, but you can also print out your own if you go to my website, phalloytech.info. There'll be a last slide in this presentation that has that written out. If you click on the section that says majors, it'll be one of the topmost links, and you can print that out, fill it out, and bring it in. Remember, that last checkbox down here is only to be checked if you're saying you don't want to give permission. If you do want to give permission, you can check these top 2 here. I really need to abide by these, and if I don't have one, I have to assume that permission has not been given. Okay, so now we get to the part where I have to take a deep breath and say I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I screwed up. Now, this is based on what happened last year, actually, and I know not every parent of one of my majors was aware of how I was running my class last year for my majors. I was assigning projects to be due every 3 weeks, but what I was encountering was students would, on occasion, some more than others, just, relax the first 2 weeks, because they had 3 whole weeks to do the project. And then that last week, sometimes the last day of that last week, they would rush to get everything done. And I figured, well, if they're only spending a week on each project, that means I can give them just a week. So I made a project due every week this quarter specifically. The only problem with that is, well, the first week, most people were able to keep up. There were a few who were struggling a bit, but there's a learning curve to my class, and most people eventually catch up after a while. But the second week, there were even more who were falling behind, and the third week, it was looking really bad for most of the class. So this was when I realized I had to make some changes. These were not students that were goofing off in my room. These were students that were working really hard to get their projects in, but they weren't getting them into the point where they were an A. See my last video about that policy. So they needed more time to work on them, and they didn't because Project 4 was going to be due, and what were they going to do? So you could only imagine what that was going to be like during week 9. I didn't want to go there, and I don't think the students wanted to go there either, so I've made some changes. The first change that I made was I spread the projects out a little bit more. Instead of a project due every week, we have a project due every other week. So that gives them a little more buffer time. I adjusted the calendar for the previously due projects as well. So Project 1 was due at the same time, but Project 2 was due 2 weeks later than that. It was still past due at that point. Project 3, however, when I made this change, was not due yet, which was great for when progress reports were due, because Project 3 ended up not being on the progress report, which I have to admit did increase the averages for some of my majors. Now, this took the number of projects that was going to be due this quarter down from 9 to 5. So hopefully, as far as the quarter's amount of work is concerned, this is going to help a lot of majors get their grades up to being an A. About that, I've already submitted my progress reports. Teachers had to submit them by Monday of this week. I'm recording this on the 30th of September. I submitted mine actually the day before because I like to get them in early. thing to keep in mind is progress report grades are not report card grades. None of these grades are carved in stone. They are a progress report. So if they have an E or a D or a B, it doesn't mean they're going to have an E or a D or a B at the end of the quarter. They can bring that grade up to an A. As a matter of fact, I expect them to. They can hand in any missed project grade and get full credit so long as they hit what the rubric is asking for. And I've told them as much in class, so they should already know. Now, what you can do to help, the first thing is to check SchoolMax and Google Classroom with your child. If you do not already have a parent portal password, you can talk to Miss Lee in the guidance office about that, and she can set you up with a SchoolMax parent portal password that lets you see the grades for all of your children in the county. Google Classroom doesn't have a parent login, unfortunately, but you can ask your child to log in and you can look over their shoulder and you can look at the project they've handed in and see comments from me and stuff like that. So when you go into Google Classroom with your child, the first thing you should do is look for those hundreds. Every 100 means they did everything the rubric was asking for. Congratulations, you get to move on to the next project. Sometimes if a student gets 100, I don't bother putting a comment down. The 100 means you did everything right, you're awesome, thank you. You might see some comments there, because if I check a project and it's not worth 100 yet, I always leave a comment saying, hey, it's not 100 yet, this is what you need to do to fix that. So look for those comments from me. If you see a comment, it's saying pretty much, here's what you need to do to get an A on this project. They can go back, fix that, resubmit it, and I'll turn that grade from, well, not being anything in Google Classroom, but being a 0 in SchoolMax, into 100. And right now, as of the time of this recording, I've gone through projects 1, 2, and 3. There's 4 and 5 also in Google Classroom. I haven't looked through all of those yet because I've really been focusing on the work that is due now. Now, we're going to end this video with some good news. I found a really cool program. It's free as in speech. This is called HitFilm 3 Express. You can get it from hitfilm.com/express. You've got to put that /express in there, or it takes you to the portion of their website where they're trying to sell you their commercial software, which costs a few $100s. Don't buy that. HitFilm 3 Express does pretty much everything I ask of my majors to get an A on their videos. So it's free software that does everything. Thank you very much. I'll take it. I have gone out and bought commercial software more than once for editing video, and I might not do that again because HitFilm 3 pretty much does everything that I need to use for my personal videos that I make. So if I'm willing to do that, that's pretty big endorsement. The downside to this is the computer it gets installed on needs to be a 64-bit computer. If you're not sure if it's 64-bit or not, well, if it's a Mac, it's probably already 64-bit. Most Macs are 64-bit. If it's not, then it's probably really, really, really old. Windows machines, if it's a cheaper machine, it's probably only 32-bit, but you can go into your system preferences and look that up. Most Windows machines that are being sold now are 64-bit, and if it is, then this will run. The computers in our computer lab, however, are 3 years old. They are still 32-bit computers, so we can't install this in the computer lab, but we do have Camtasia. It's a commercial product, so we had to pay for it, but it works. So, there you go. If you have any questions, comments, criticisms, you can email me at aaron.smith@pgcps.org. Everything that I hand out, every lesson that I give, I put up on feloytech.info for the most part. And we even have a Twitter account, feloytech, so you can go there and follow if you want. All right, so until next time, which will be next month most likely, this is Mr. Smith saying have fun.